Hello and welcome again. This is International Stress Awareness Day 2017. I am your host, Danielle Sax. I am an expert in conscious self-care, an international speaker and author of the book, Shifting Out of Chronic Stress. Now, I do believe that there is no better time than to speak up and speak out about stress than this year. So many things have happened all around the world. And I have a very special guest with me now, because stress in the lives of our children and youngsters is also, it is also a killer for them because it has a huge impact. So here I am today with a wonderful person. Welcome, Cai Graham. Cai is a parent, a coach, and an author of the Teen Toolbox, and she's the founder of Peak Parenting. Now, Cai specializes in supporting families overcoming obstacles, and her mission is to empower parents and teenagers with the tools and techniques they need to cope with the challenges of modern life. So I'm so honored. Hello, Cai, welcome. Thank you so much for meeting me here and for doing this because, that we have quite a few experts already, in this broadcasting, but you are the specialist in, with teenagers and youngsters. So is there anything else you want to say about yourself in the introduction about what you're doing? Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, not really. I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head, Danielle. I think the thing is that I have used all my experience from training as a master practitioner in NLP. I am a mum of two glorious children who are now sort of through the other side, so 22 and 24. I'm using that experience, and sort of the examples will come from my time dealing one-to-one with people, but also with the Childline charity, the UK-based Childline charity, which is very much geared towards supporting young people. So I've been at the sharp end of quite a lot of different sort of scenarios. So it's cobbled all together, and that's what I am now sort of drawing upon today.
Great. Now, I just wanted to ask you, my first question can actually be quite personal, I'm not sure, but what is your first encounter with stress? What makes that you have decided to make stress actually almost the topic in your professional life? Is it through professional encounters, or is it through personal stories?
I think it's a golden thread going all the way through my childhood that is now manifesting today. I do remember as a child, I don't know if it was stress, but I permanently felt under pressure of trying to belong, trying to be good enough, trying to sort of shine brightly. And I just never felt as though I was sort of reaching the mark and hitting the expectations. And so that's why, in all fairness, I tend to be drawn towards, especially teenagers, because they're popping with hormones, they don't understand the rules, and I get it because I remember it. So my view is if I can help kids, young people, whatever, understand that, this sort of roller coaster of life can be great fun as well as challenging, then how wonderful to set them forward on a future that they sort of have tools to deal with the challenges that life throws. So I think it's from deep down, I remember what it felt like as a child.
Interesting. And if you would look at your book, it's called the Teen Toolbox. What is the link there? Yes. What is the link there with stress?
I think the thing is with young people, they have, and the bar, it seems to be raising sort of, year on year. And they don't quite understand as I said, what the rules are. But I think it's, let's face it, kids aren't really going to sort of pick up a book on adolescence. I have got a sort of shameless plug. I have a free app, which is also called the Teen Toolbox, which is geared towards the teenagers. The book is geared towards parents, and it's giving them the tools, because I think when we were young, the goalposts have changed a lot since then.
Yes.
If you even use communication and now what we have is social media. I remember when I was young, the only form of communication was a telephone on the hall table. So, we didn't have any of these mobile phones. We didn't have social media. And so when parents now sort of try and draw on the experiences from their childhood, it's very different. So what I've tried to do is, the first part of the book is all about how best to communicate with your child, because let's face it, no one tells us about that at school. They teach us about maths and about history and geography, but no one tells us how to communicate with other people, our family, or ourselves. So that's sort of the first part is all about that. And then the second part is real life examples and real life sort of tools to help you deal with bullying, with overwhelm, with sex and drugs, with, all the challenges that social media, as we mentioned, that all the challenges that young people sort of come in contact with. And it's a guide to say to parents, listen, try this or try that if the other way doesn't work. So when kids are born, no one gives us a manual. So I'm hoping this is the next best thing.
Okay, wonderful. Now, I hear you talk about 2 times already, you said the words social media. Are you saying that you experience in your practice with teenagers and youngsters, you experience that they have a lot of stress within the social media, within, I suppose, comparing themselves to others, taking things personally, what others say about things. Is that a reality?
That totally. And I think the thing is they don't actually realize that it's the social media that is the problem. And it's not the sole problem, but it is part and parcel. And it's just another sort of thing to add insult to injury. But, kids are looking at their friends who are going out to parties or taking pictures of themselves, on Instagram or whatever it is. And they're sort of, let's face it, sitting at home, looking at all these wonderful pictures and comparing their black and white world to someone's Technicolor world. And what they fail to do is connect the dots and realize, oh, well, actually, most of the time we're all sitting in a heap at home, or we're stressing about work, schoolwork or something. But I think the thing is that when you look at the sort of, the picture that people are trying to portray of the perfect life, kids sort of don't quite realize that it's not always real life. And nowadays, you can airbrush photos of yourself and make everything look bigger or smaller or clearer, whatever you need to do. And it's not real life anyway. I mean, even if you look at magazines or TV, I mean, the girl on the front of the magazine doesn't even look like the girl on the front of the magazine, because everything's just been sort of tweaked. And it's hard for children to understand that actually they're not failing. It's just that the expectations are very different. So.
Yes, I recognize what you say even in my life, and that's quite in my younger years, which is quite a long time ago. But in my book, Shifting Out of Chronic Stress, I wanted to talk to you about that, because you're the specialist with the youngsters and the children. But I, as a very sensitive child, a highly sensitive child, I was always trying to please, help, and save others. See, I was always putting others first. And you said it yourself, I heard it you saying, I didn't feel good enough. Don't you think, and that's my message in my book about chronic stress, that it is a consistent fear of not being good enough that creates an enormous stress in our youngsters. And I think I didn't have social media in my time, but with social media, even there, the telephone, the 24-hour availability, the speed, the pressure from everything, I think these youngsters have that even more seriously, that fear of not being good enough.
Well, I mean, there are two sort of things on that. The point about the social media itself is that 24/7 availability of it. I mean, I was bullied at school, but the point about that was as soon as I got home at about sort of 4:30, I could shut the door and I had respite for a few hours until I went back into school. Nowadays, and actually, you tend to know who your bullies are if it's sort of face to face. But when it's online, this is what cyberbullying is basically. It's online bullying. The thing about it is incessant. It never stops. People get home after school and it is continuing. They go online and it doesn't matter if it comes from chat rooms, if it comes from texts, if it comes from emails, if it comes from these soft, sort of Facebook. It is 24/7. It is relentless. So the children are unable to switch off. So they're on high alert the whole time.
Yes.
But also going back to your comment about not feeling good enough, I think adults really have a lot to answer for, because I think what we inadvertently start labeling our children. And this is sort of one thing that I found was my brother was always the sporty one, the clever one, the good-looking one. Yes. And I don't actually even remember, I don't know if this is even, good or bad, but I never actually remembered having a label. So my thought was, well, then I'm therefore not good enough. I'm not good enough even to have a label. And the one thing, is throwaway comments I had at a parent-teacher meeting when I was 10. And my teacher just said to my parents, "Oh dear, Caroline's really not going to set the Thames on fire now, is she?"
Oh.
And you know what? A comment that sort of, maybe it was just a sort of a placatory something or a reassuring. I can't even understand what possessed her to say it, but that followed me for, I would say, 3 decades. And so this is actually probably one of the reasons why I work with kids, is because we must try and remember as adults that by labeling or by a throwaway comment, our children pick up on this. And it's, oh, well, don't worry, you're not very good at games, that's all right. Or, and immediately kids start labeling themselves and then stop trying, or then just sort of think, oh, well, there's no point. And I'm not good enough at that. The confidence goes, the feeling of, as we said, not feeling good enough. So I do feel that, children in their own right set the bar very high, but it's our responsibility as adults to reassure, to nurture, to look after, and to be very, very good role models. Because as people will have been getting sort of throughout the day, looking at all the different interviews, stress comes in all shapes and sizes, and it affects people sort of very, very differently. But our kids are sponges. So if mum is, sort of not getting on with dad, or if dad's sort of, I don't know, sort of kicking off, mum's stressed at work, the children absorb all this. It doesn't matter, what the causes are. It could be just, I don't know, sort of something bad in the household, or something bad at work, or money worries, or something much more trivial. But kids pick up on it, and they get their anxieties, I'm afraid to say, from parents that are sort of showing the same symptoms. So just a note to self, if you've got a child where you can spot sort of anxious tendencies, take a look in the mirror and see how you are operating in front of them, because they tend to pick it up quite well.
So if we would talk about the theme of this year, then speak up and speak out about stress, is that what you would like to say to parents, to be the example, look at yourself and see how you are doing, because your kids are the sponges, and your kids, what would you say to speak up and speak out about stress?
My big thing is all about communication. I hear so many parents, they just won't listen. I feel as I'm treading on eggshells. They just slam the door and don't come and speak to me. And I would say that as early as you can, keep talking to your child. If they are 5 years old and want to tell you that Sophie knocked them over in the playground, or they want to tell you what their favorite pizza topping is, or that they're thrilled that they got a gold star for sort of coloring in between the lines. I know, as far as a parent is concerned, they're busy, they've got other things on. But the thing is that if children are getting used to you not listening to the little stuff, why on earth are they going to open up on the big stuff? So the thing is communication, and I would say it all starts off with just listen. 100%. Turn your phone off and just listen to what your child has got to say. You don't have to sort everything out. This is one thing I found when I was, sort of manning the phones and helping counsel young children through Childline, is invariably they got everything off their chest and they went, oh, thank you, I feel so much better, because they felt valued and they felt listened to. I mean, my daughter says to me the whole time, oh, just listen. She said, I don't want you to sort things out. I just want you to listen to what I've got to say. And that actually, listening is in fairness, harder than you think, because we're all talking.
Listening is actually harder than talking.
It is.
I don't know if you know nonviolent communication, from Marshall Rosenberg. I've done that now for 5-6 years.
Oh, okay.
And it's something they often say. And so I'm so glad you say that, because people think that, to listen, they must also have the solution, that they're already busy trying to sort the things out and trying to give a solution instead of just listening. You don't have to do anything. Listening is they call it being present. Do you recognize that?
Oh, totally. And so this, I do lots of Facebook Lives, and this is one of my big bugbears. And I say, just keep the lines of communication open and listen to your child. And the thing is, you don't have to sit there nose to nose peering at them going, right, tell me all about it. If it's a teenage boy, you could be sort of chatting to him on the way to driving him to rugby practice, or if it's your daughter who's sort of going to a party, when you're sitting in a car, you're not facing one another, so it's less confrontational, which actually puts sort of teenagers at ease. But other times it could just be instead of a bedtime story with kids, or when you're bathing the little ones, just sort of peering over the top of the bath and asking about their day and listening to the response rather than, I know sometimes it's easy to zone out, I hear you, but it is our job to, all we want really as individuals, and I know there are lots of other things, but I find it that in my work is we want to feel loved, understood, and respected. And those things, if a child feels all of those three things, then do you know what? The majority of the stresses and strains of everyday life sort of get put back into sort of balance. And I think the thing is realizing that your child's home is their sanctuary, and they have been out at school painting on this picture, wearing a mask of being cool or having to keep up with their tribe, or trying to get in with the right group. And when they come home, they kick off their shoes, they take the mask off, and they are allowed to be themselves. So I think the thing is, as parents, as long as we just allow them to just, we got to keep, manners and everything, and general respect. That I get that as far as the boundaries are concerned. But if we have a bit of door slamming, just pick your battles, because we don't have to win every single battle. So,
do you agree? I call it always, because you see the youngsters, but I suppose you also see the parents. I see most people that are here in my chairs are people who tell me about their young age, their childhood. And they tell me that they did not get unconditional love from their parents. Often there was always a condition. There was always a judgment. So even the adults that come here with a lot of stress, whether it's burnout, whether, it's problems in their relationship, whatever stress that is happening in their life, it often has to do with how they were treated already when they were youngsters. So that self-worth, that self-esteem, I so strongly believe in unconditional love. We are so conditioned to judge others and to always, make remarks and make, want them to do better. It's so difficult to love without condition.
Well, I think I mention this to my parents and, the parents that I see, and they go, oh, no, but of course I love my child. I love them unconditionally. Yes, but are you showing them that? And they sort of said, yes, of course I hug them. And I went, no, hang on a minute. It's very, very different. Because the thing is for something like, let's use schoolwork as an example. And if a child sort of gets a C or woe betide a D, it's that sort of, oh, tut, and, oh, you're not trying and you're not good enough. Whereas if an A comes in onto the score sheet, oh, you're
everybody's
so
happy.
Fantastic. And so a child is feeling, well, I think the thing is that they equate love and approval, and as long as they measure up, they get more love. And it's as simple as that. That's the way they look at it. And adults are going, no, of course I love them. I said, yeah, but we're yelling at our children for having a messy room. We are giving them our approval or disapproval within our own parameters. And kids, I'm afraid to say, do just, sort of that they're only sort of, because they're, I would say, still emotionally growing, they automatically equate that with love or not. And that's a problem.
I'm so happy we had this conversation, because for me, the chronic stress, the real killer is that lack of self-worth, that lack of self-value. I see that in my practice, as even people who are 50, 60 years old battle with that. That is their core stress. It's the feeling of not being good enough. Now, thank you for all that, but I'm going to ask you a difficult question now, Cai. I'm going to ask you to end this interview. I would like to ask you to give me one sentence of wisdom from your life experience, professional experience, about stress, about speak up and speak out about stress. What would you like to say? You can maybe give a sentence for parents and maybe a sentence for youngsters, but is there one sentence or a quote or a sentence of wisdom, something that you would like to finish off with in this interview?
It's in the hair game.
What did you say? Sorry? Did I lose you? I think I lost you. Let's see, because I think I think I lost you, Cai. I didn't hear the last. I think we lost connection.
Okay.
So I didn't hear your sentences. Can you say them again?
Let's edit that bit and start from scratch. I would say it's not actually a sentence.
Okay.
It's a formula. And what I say is E plus R equals O. And E is the event that happens to you. Now, it could be your boss firing you. It could be your mother-in-law driving you mad. It could be a D in your grades. It could be not scoring the final penalty in a hockey match. It doesn't matter. Whatever that E is an event. And let's face it, you can't change the event that happens to you. What you can do is change your response. So E is the event, R is your response, and your response changes the outcome. So the point is that however you respond to something depends, your response creates the outcome. So E plus R equals O. So if you,
I would love to end with that, because I love the formula. It's actually spot on. It's spot on, because that determines stress. So I'm going to end with that. So the E plus the R equals the outcome, the O. Thank you, Cai. I think you contribute so much to this world. We need people like you, and thank you so much. It was an honor to have you. So thank you for doing this for us. And please, for all the audience, if you've just seen or just watched a little bit of this video, you can see the replay and all the replay of the other videos. Go to the website INSAD2017.com, and you can watch all the the videos. So I want people to know that they can watch as many videos if they want, all about speak up and speak out about stress. Bye bye, Cai. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.